Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So this video is the episode 2 of the Blender 3D products modeling tutorial series. In the episode 1, we looked at the modeling aspect where we created a curve, added a screw modifier, added some solidify subdivisions, and then we had what we have right now. So that was where we ended in the episode 1. So this is the episode 2 where we'll be tackling the texturing and the lighting. All right, so if you haven't watched the episode 1 yet, I'll leave the link up here somewhere so you can click on the link and then go back and watch the episode 1. But heads up, I might do the texturing, lighting, composition and rendering all in this video. I'm not sure yet, but chances are that I'm going to do that because I think this episode was supposed to be a live stream, but I had some technical difficulties, so I'm thinking of doing everything all in this video. So without further ado, let's start lighting. After the tutorial, I kind of did a bit of tweaking to my scene. So I'm going to delete the lights, and then I'm going to delete the textures. I'm going to delete the two objects at the back like so. So I'm going to box select all of them, delete these lights, delete this as well, and then we should be left with this. So I'm going to take off the textures, and then we are going to light the entire scene from scratch. It's actually quite simple. Lighting, I think if you want to go deep into lighting, I would suggest you watch videos or tutorials on lighting. Maybe I might create some tutorials or videos on lighting, but I haven't created them yet, so I would advise that you watch videos on lighting. But basically for my lighting process, I don't really use any specific method or something like that. Basically I use the 3-point light system. I use 3 lights, basically just lights from 3 sources. All right, that is what actually happens in basic photography. Yes, there are 3 light sources, so that is what I use. In some cases I decide to use a 4th light to add some highlights or something, but in most cases I use the 3-point light. All right, so we are going to use the 3-point light. Actually, we are going to use the we are going to introduce a 4th light. I'm going to be working in EV because cycles might take a bit of time to render, so I'm going to be working in EV. All right, so I'm going to change, but before I switch to my rendered mode, I need to delete. I added a sky texture here. I think I've already done that, so I can go to my rendered mode. Alright, so now let's light our scene, shall we? So Shift A to add a light. I think we should do the lighting elsewhere, but before we go back, I think I should take off the materials from my model. So I'm going to take off all the materials. Yes. And then the cog as well. Alright, so back to this. Now for the lighting, let me change to rendered view. Alright, so first thing to do is that you are going to add an area light. Alright, so we need to add an area light, bring it up a little. So the thing is that this area light is supposed to light up our backdrop, so it's not mainly for the scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back here like so, bring it up a little, and I'm going to rotate it like so. No, let me just switch, yeah, like this. And then probably you won't be seeing the probably you won't be seeing the effect because the power of the light is very low. So just come down to the objects data properties, light, and then crank up your light to say 1000 isn't enough, so let's say 5,000. Yeah, 5,000. So when you move to your camera view, you will notice that the background is lit. Yeah, and Eevee doesn't really. Yeah, so that is for the backdrop. And so the next thing is to light our bottle. All right, so what we are going to do is that we are going to add another light like so, area light again. This time the area light will be right on top of the model. Scale it up a little, crank it up to say 2000, and then you should see something happening already. All right, so I think this is a bit too much, so I'll bring it down to 1000. All right, and then what I'm going to do next is I'll duplicate the lights to the right and then come to the top view and then move this forward a little, come to the front view, rotate this like so, plan again, rotate this like so. Okay, yeah, and then I'm going to increase this light to say 2000. Yeah, so you notice that the scene looks lit already, but I'm not done. I need to add a third light. Okay, so I'm going to shift this again to this side, and then this one is going to be a spotlight. So let me move this back. Spot, front view, rotates like so, then it rotates like so. Then I'm going to bring down the I think the size, no, not yet, the size, so like so, and then increase the power to say 7000, or say 10,000. Yeah, probably increase this. So I get so it covers. Yeah, and then I'm going to change the lights, the point lights. Yeah, let's make it something subtle. Yeah, so basically this is the lighting system that I use. Quite simple to do. And then probably for the fourth one, this is not what I did in the actual render actually, so might look a bit different. So this, and then make it, let's say 800. Yeah, so as you can see, our scene is already lit, our bottle is already lit, and so the next thing we have to do now is to add our textures. The textures are quite easy, they are not any complex textures. It's just a procedural texture most of the times. In fact, I hardly use PBR textures. I mostly use procedural textures. So yeah, so I'm going to switch to my shading tab, and then I'm going to select my bottle. So the thing is that the material for the bottle is like this matte color. So the reason the renders are in blue, black and white is because the products are in 3 different variations. All right, so what you're going to do now is, I think that if you observe my render, it was like the bottom part of the bottle was glass, and then the inner part was kind of round, and then it looked like oil. Yeah, it looked like there was oil in there. So yes, that was what I did. I actually did that after recording the tutorial, because Christian asked me to do a bit of modification to the model. So we are going to use the same process. So basically what I'm going to do is that I'm going to tap to go into my edit mode, and then I'll add a material. Let me change this to objects. I'll add a material, and so this is the material we have. So if we change this to any color, you notice that it affects the bottle. So I'm going to keep it at blue, like so. And as I said earlier, the color is kind of matte, very rough, you know, a rough material, not shiny. So I'm going to bring up my roughness all the way up, and then I'm going to bring my specular down to say 0.15. And then not to forget the background also. So you create a material for the background to bring the roughness way up, and then bring the specular down as well. Basically that is for the background. So for the bottle, I think there is a little bit of, you know, shininess, so I'll bring the roughness down a little, probably 0.7. and then to add the extra stuff, you see that the bottle, even though it's quite rough and a little bit shiny in a way, there are some kind of, you know, textures, rough kind of feel around it. And so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add a noise texture to it, and then I'm going to connect the noise texture to the transmission node, and then we'll see what will happen. So let's add it, Shift A, noise, Shift A, color ramp, Control T, factor to factor, color to transmission. So we should have something like this going on. And then you would notice that on the on the texture coordinates node, we have generated normal, UV, object, camera, window. I think I'll use the object coordinate instead. So object, yeah. Then I'm going to scale the texture down a little bit, just quite a lot actually, say 60. Then I'm going to bring this in. All right, the roughness with the roughness up, and then details up. So from a distance you won't really notice it, but the texture actually adds some kind of feel to it. So let me take it off, go to the camera view, and then let me take it off, and let's see something. So off, so you see how it looks. And then when it's connected, yeah, so it does add a bit of quality to the model. All right, so basically that is the texture. That is it. It's as simple as that. And then the next thing is to add the label to it. So for the label, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to tap to go into my edit mode. With these faces selected, I'm going to create a vertex group. So create a vertex group, you can name it labels. All right, so yeah, so with the material selected, press Shift A on the keyboard, search for image texture, add your image texture, and then add the RGB node, mix RGB node. And then with the image texture selected, Control T on the keyboard to add the coordinate, as I said, and then connect the color into the factor. And now what I'm going to do is that we are going to connect the color into the base color. But what we need to do is I need to add an image texture to it. The image is here. All right, it's here. All right, All right. Thank God. So I have my image loaded, and so I'm going to first of all copy the color code, and then I'm going to connect this to this. And yeah, initially you have a black and white something going on, so you have to come back to the texture coordinate node. If it's on object, change it from object to UV. And now let's go back to the UV tab. All right, so for the UV unwrapping, I'm going to select these edges. So shift select shift select any of the edges, and then right click and select mark seam. All right, and so after that, change to face select mode, select these faces plus these faces, and then press U on the keyboard, select unwrap. All right, so you should have something like this. And so on the left side of the screen, just press E on the keyboard to select all the faces, and make sure you are in the rendered view on the left side. Okay, so just rotate it. I'm going to scale this down a little, like so. So let me check if there is no repetitions somewhere. Yeah, so let's scale it down a little, like just about here. Then let me scale it. Nope. Then let me bring it up like so. All right. So in the cameras, I think I should rotate the bottle a little. Yeah. It looks like it. Let's rotate it a little. No. All right, so let's rotate this a little. I think I should make the streets. Select this too. I take it there. Now select everything. Yeah. All right. So this is what we have. And then, yeah, I think I should increase my background lights a little. Okay.
Lay down. That can be further. That. How is it untrue?
Okay, so we have our label. We've done our texturing. We've done our UV unwrapping. And so what we are left with as the rendering and composition. So I'm going to do a test render, and then I'm going to use that render to do the compositing. So to render your scene, it's actually quite simple. Just make sure that you come to the output properties and then come down to output and change the file format to either JPEG or PNG. Alright, so I'll keep it at JPEG, and then I think I should increase my point slides. And after you select your format for rendering, over here you select the resolution for your render. So the resolution can be square, can be landscape, can be portrait, depending on the platform that you want to post your artwork, or whatever. So if it's Instagram, it's going to be 1080 by 1080. If it's going to be landscape, probably 1080 by 1920. Then so I'm going to render my scene, and then we are going to continue with the compositing from there. So render image. So let's move on to the compositing tab. Let me delete everything I have here. Then let me bring, alright. So let me take the image off. So when you turn to your compositing tab, you would be introduced to something like this. Then don't worry, it's actually quite simple. Just turn on the backdrop and then click on use nodes. So after that, we are going to add a couple of nodes. Normally I think you'd be given the input and then output, so I think I deleted them. Let me delete these ones. So normally you'd be given the render layers and then the composite. Alright, so we are going to add our nodes in between the composites and then the render layers, and then make sure your view layer is selected over here. Alright, make sure your view layer is selected, or else nothing is going to happen in your backdrop. Okay, so first I'm going to add an RGB node. So Shift A, color. Hue correct. So Shift A, color, hue correct. Put this in here. And then in case you want to zoom into your backdrop, it's actually quite simple. V to zoom out, and then Alt V to zoom in. Alright, for you to see what is going on in the backdrop, you need to add a view layer. So Shift A, view. Alright, then connect this to this to this. And then what else am I going to add? Let me see. Let's see if a glare node would work. So you could add a glare if you want, but I'm not going to go with the glare. So just connect this into this, and then always make sure that the moment you are done, your nodes or the last node is always connected to the composite. Always make sure that it's connected to your composite. So after that, don't worry, you don't have to render again. All you have to do is go back to your render window and then change it from view layer to composite. So you notice that there is a vast difference between them. This is the view layer, then this is the composite layer. All right, So yeah, basically that's it for the series. If there is any question that you have, I think you can leave it in the comment section. And then if there is any other thing that you'd like to learn, you can also mention it in the comment section. I'll do my best to attend to it. And then if this video was helpful, I'd really appreciate if you can, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then share this video with others as well. All right, I'll see you in my next video.